Hey Somerville, it's me, Janet Cormier, back for another episode. I guess we call these episodes of Art at Scat because we have so many wonderful artists in Somerville. It's a community rich in all kinds of artists. And the artist that we have today is someone I met through Open Studios. And her name is Alison Gould, and she is a photographer. And her work has a lot of humor, and it's fun. And I found her to be, she got all my jokes, so yes, we hit it off. So it was wonderful. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, you have camera, are you out there all the time taking photographs, or?
Not all the time, but yeah, I like to bring my camera with me, especially if I'm traveling. I've got a combination of things here, some from different travels and some local stuff too.
Oh, all right. And let's see, can we start anywhere?
Anywhere you want.
All right. So
these are funny to me because I never considered myself a real girly girl who loves hearts, but for some reason, I can't stop taking pictures of hearts. Everywhere I go, I seem to find them. And sometimes they're literally painted on a wall. And I love taking pictures of things that are painted on walls or on the ground or murals. There's one there that's a sculpture from the Cordova Sculpture Garden. And I really love this one because you can
Which one is that?
Well, this whole, composition, because they're hearts from all over the world. Like there's a heart there that's a donut. There's two that are from Italy. There's one that's from Costa Rica, another from Mexico. There's two in there that are from Israel, and a few from around the neighborhood too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you do graffiti? Do you take photos of graffiti
Yeah,
too?
I do a lot of that. Yeah. So actually, for everything that's going to be hanging up here at SCATV, I decided to call the whole exhibit Painted, because a lot of my photographs are either inspired by a painter, so I can talk about that in a little bit, which is inspired by Mondrian, or else they're pictures of nature that I make to look kind of like their paintings, or else they are actually photographs of paintings themselves, because I love graffiti and street art and anything that's painted on a building that makes that building even more interesting than it already was before.
Which there is a lot. We have a lot of gifted graffiti artists. And they're a rebellious group, but they do phenomenal work. I often wonder how they get up that high too on some of the buildings.
Yeah.
And it's like amazing to me when you come into Sullivan Square, there's graffiti along the back.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm not encouraging law breaking in any way, so. But now, when you do this, is this considered a montage of work, or?
I guess I would call it a photo collage.
Okay.
So, I have, this is also a whole bunch of hearts, and all of these were taken in Tel Aviv, in Israel. And I actually found so many hearts in Tel Aviv that I had to make 2 collages of three collages of hearts, because I found so many. And I have family that live there, and I'd walk around with my cousins, and it's kind of annoying when I'm walking with, not to me, but to other people, because I'll be walking and be like, wait a minute, wait, there's a heart. I have to take a picture of it. And so I found all these hearts, and my cousin said that after I left, she couldn't see the hearts anymore.
They disappeared?
She never noticed them. So
I
think that sometimes you walk by these things every day and you don't notice them.
That happens a lot.
It just kind of takes being aware or knowing that you have that kind of collection in mind. And I wish I could wipe it off of my mind. I'm actually really sick of running into hearts, But it's neat at the same time. And I love it when you find these hearts that are just so quirky, And actually my favorite hearts to find are hearts that are not painted, but that I like to call natural hearts. So you can see on the bottom right corner of that photograph, there's a tree.
Is this the one?
No, actually the other one, yeah. There is a tree that they use to actually post advertisements or, club openings and things like that. And so it's it's full of staples, but the knot inside of the tree is shaped like a heart. And somebody noticed that and they painted it red, you know.
Wow.
There's also a heart on the top right corner of this photograph, which
This one? No,
no.
I get my left and my right.
the other left, yeah, that one, which is a tree stump.
Oh.
Yeah. There's another heart that I have in a different collage, which is moss. And it's moss on a tree, and it looks like a heart. So
Wow.
those are my favorite hearts to find. And when I do, it's like, you know, I get really giddy. So that's just kind of a pet project of mine that I keep on thinking that will end, and it never does.
Till you stop seeing the hearts yourself.
Well, I mean, as irritating as it might be to walk around with me when I find them, I kind of don't want to stop seeing them.
You know, as you're talking about your visit, though, with your
My
relatives,
cousins,
your
yeah.
cousins, it's one of those things that whenever visitors come from a different part of town or a different country, they notice stuff that you never noticed when you were
Yeah.
living there.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they're the ones that want to go sightseeing. They're the ones that know more about the place you live than you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I just find that very interesting.
You know, it's interesting that you mention that because you had said to me you might ask me how I got started with photography.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all right if I answer that
Oh, sure.
now? Is that I am not formally trained, and I just always kind of enjoyed taking pictures. And so I'm actually a teacher, which means that I have my summers free. And I usually look to do something that's kind of enriching in my summer, and I love to travel. So I looked up programs for how can I travel but also do something that's not just sightseeing. And I ended up finding this volunteer opportunity for photographers. And it was this program called Valjevo through a visitor's lens. And it was this small town in Serbia, and there were, I can't remember whether we were 8 or 10 photographers that were international, and they actually wanted us to come as a community service kind of a thing to take pictures of their town because they wanted to see their town, just like you were saying, through a visitor's lens and have a better, partially a better understanding of, okay, what are other people's impressions of where we live, but also it increased pride because we ended up putting together an exhibit at the end of the summer and people came and they saw these things that they might pass by every single day but not think so much about.
Wow. So that's what you do. You're taking your lens and letting us see things, whether they're flowers or images of hearts or stars. That's the gift that you have, you know, bringing that lens for us. Because when you get so caught up in everyday stuff, you miss the beauty of it.
And that's kind of what I try to attain through taking pictures of, you know, urban life, to take things that other people might consider even ugly. But if you take it in a different light, or if you combine it with something else, then you can actually make it look very beautiful.
The context, switching the context.
Yeah.
I collect photo postcards of places throughout, like Massachusetts or New York, and I love to see how even when we talk about the Statue of Liberty, how she's been photographed so many times, and from the 70s glossy to the hand, not the hand painted, but the other postcards, it's amazing. So
Yeah.
we
Oh, that's
need you
great.
to have that vision for us. And speaking of vision, can I show this one?
Sure, absolutely.
This is, now you said it's a,
It's a photograph, and I actually, I don't know if it's because I don't like to play with my photographs, you know, and distort them through, you know, Photoshop and whatnot, or if it's just because I don't know how to do it very well.
we'll go with the purest one. We'll go with the purest definition.
But I do like to distort images on the camera somehow, and do little work to touch it up. But this is, I consider this a photograph that looks kind of like a painting. I think it looks more like a watercolor painting, but it's not. So it's a photograph. It's a reflection, obviously, of trees. And I printed it on a special canvas, which has a metallic element to it. So I think that gives it a little more texture than if it were just printed on a regular photograph paper.
Do you make that selection about wanting to give it that painting quality when you're choosing your subjects, or?
Not at all. Well, in terms of what I printed on, or
No, just taking the photo. Like, do you see it and suddenly say that would be great as a image of this?
Well, I think that's what makes me take the photograph in the first place, is I see something that it's nature, you know, and it should look real because it's nature, but it's more special to me when it actually looks like a painting, you know? And then I take the picture, and either it comes out looking really nice or it looks terrible. And if it doesn't look great, then I'm not gonna print it. But I had a feeling with this one that it would look kind of nice. And there's another one, you know, again, just like with hearts, you kind of get these different themes in your head, and as you walk around, you see something that fits that theme, and it's impossible not to take a picture of it. So I do have another photograph of a reflection. I love this one. It was taken at the Blue Hills, and it's almost like this rainbow of foliage, and then it's all reflected in the water as well.
Gorgeous.
And it's really pretty. And that one I really think looks like a photograph. It doesn't look like a painting, but the colors are wonderful. And then there's the other photograph that I did bring that goes in the same theme, which is another reflection of trees in a small pond. And to give it away is if you actually turn it upside down, that's the true right side up. So that's the way that it really looks. It's a reflection, but I liked to turn it upside down because it gives it more of a painterly look. That's how a painter might draw trees, to give it a more emotional feel. I think it's kind of spooky looking, but you know, I like it for that. And I like that it gives a very different kind of emotion than the first one that you held up.
Well, that happens a lot too with painters. Like, we're painting and then we flip it another way to get the angle, and then we flip it again until we can work whatever it is. If we don't like what we see the first time, we just keep flipping it around.
Yeah.
And I know I was working on a collage at one point, and it didn't look right. And then it's one of the few classes I took. The instructor flipped it the other way, and we were like, "Oh, that's how you do it."
Yeah.
So.
And it's so much easier to do that with photography.
It is.
You know, there's a picture that I didn't bring here, but I love it. I took it actually on another sort of photographic journey over the summertime, where I took photos for a volunteer group. And this was in Iceland, and there's just extraordinary nature there. So there are these green mountains and this bright blue sky, and kind of like almost black sand underneath the mountains. And when you're walking around, nature is so huge that you're just looking up all the time, you know? And so I took a picture of this big, you know, green mountain with the blue black drop, and I took it upside down like that.
Wow.
And so when I show the picture, it is upside down. And people always say to me, "Well, don't you want to turn that around so it's right side up?" I'm like, absolutely not, because that's not the way that I saw it, you know? And I feel like the feeling connected with it is so much grander when you're carried back into, you know, wow, it's so much more fun to look at something with your head up like that
And
than
it's,
just
it's
straight on.
childlike too, because even you doing that, I can see you enjoying it, and it's like it's that marvel and that awe that you have, especially as a little kid when you're not trying to be cool, and it's like, wow, look at this, and you capture that perfectly. Now let's see. Can you grab
This one?
Yes.
Sure. And you want to hold it? Okay. So this is an example of how I was talking before about sometimes I like to take photographs that look like paintings, but other times I like to take photographs of paintings, or more specifically of murals. So I think that, you know, you talk about how you like the murals in Sullivan Square, and actually one of my favorite photos that I've taken is in Central Square. There's this alleyway as you're walking to the T, and I love it that, you know, it's ever-changing graffiti and some really interesting stuff. And I feel like it's a crime not to take photographs of that because it's so transitory, you know. So you have to photograph it to capture it for a while. There's other street art that's not so great. What I love about this particular piece of street art is it's a combination of so many things. So there's painting on top of plastered advertisements, on top of peeling paint, on top of brick, and all of those layers put together on a flat surface is inspiring to me. And this was actually taken in Mexico City, and I love how it has these calacas, like the skeletons that are for the Day of the Dead. And behind it you can see, religious ads, you can see political campaigns, and I think that there's a lot that it's saying about the culture in which it came from.
And how it has developed. And you see that a lot too in the summer in the cities when a lot of communities that are, from other countries are here, and how they create their own economy. And with that, like the street vendors, there's this whole different aura about what that city street looks like. And it has that fascinating feeling. It's a lot of excitement and color. And I'm always fascinated when people do that, when they can take just a city block and change it.
Yeah.
And
they actually, with murals and with changing the image of a city through painting, in Albania, there's all of these concrete buildings, and it's just like gray concrete, and it was very depressing looking. And so a city planner actually decided, let's create all of these paintings on the buildings. And so all these buildings are now covered with beautiful murals, and
wow.
The city is gorgeous. And there's actually a couple of other photographs that I'll be hanging up that are murals in Bushwick in Brooklyn, and there is a man who owns a lot of industrial buildings there, and he saw that people were some buildings were getting covered with graffiti that wasn't so nice looking, and there was just so many artists in Bushwick that have kind of spilled over from Williamsburg that he's invited people to paint on his buildings, and it has changed the face of that area completely. And not only is it beautiful, but it's like this ever-rotating gallery. So it's bringing these different moods to the city all the time.
And the colors and the textures too. It's like shadows. The shadows do the same thing, and sunlight. They move a place. They physically move it. And I'm thinking what artists are doing now with the colors and the images they have. They're physically not just changing the space, they're moving it. And it's just evolving. It's so exciting to see that.
Yeah.
Especially when it's not some of it can be sort of drab. Some of the art, or not drab, I can't think of it, but it doesn't do anything to the area. And then there are graffiti artists who can really just bring life to it. And then there are photographers who bring these artists to us and see the beauty in the work that's done. I'm fascinated that you're fascinated with the paintings on the buildings. I think that is so wild. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Now everyone will look differently at Somerville. They'll be squinting to see, what do I see? It's like you've made it a big Rorschach test or something. I don't know. But it's a fabulous concept. And who knows what we're going to see now.
Yeah.
If the mayor is listening, Alison said it. I'm backing her up. So, I was going to ask you, when you do something like this collage,
Yeah.
How long does it take you to decide which of the photographs that you're going to line up?
I don't know if I have an absolute answer for that. I think that with some of the hearts, I had printed out individual hearts so I could sort of lay them out and then figure out what I thought looked the nicest.
Okay.
So maybe, actually, I don't know, maybe it would take me like 15 or 20 minutes to get the layout the way that I liked, the way that it looked, but then actually putting it together, because this I needed to use Photoshop to actually create the...
So you know what we're talking about too. So this is, I was just, the layout of them. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, yeah. And this is much more of a puzzle than that. I mean, that's more of a grid. And so, yeah, I mean, it took a little bit of time to figure out, oh, you know, what do I think is the best position for each heart? How is it going to bring out the colors and, you know, the shapes of the other hearts? Or is it going to look redundant if I do it one way or another? But I don't know, a little bit of playing around with it. That didn't take too long. But putting it together took a little while longer.
Which one is this?
That was taken in Harvard Square in a back alley behind a restaurant somewhere. And it was just red spray painted on metal.
Okay, because it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And now you know where Alison goes to. She's fearless. She'll go into back alleyways. If it looks like there's paint, I'm going to hand this back to you to put back.
Thank you. Yeah.
But it says something about the artist's eye, wandering, taking those chances, going and seeing something, a vision.
Yeah, I think you have to. You know, if you see a great heart, you got to go for it. You know, or if you see something that just really interests you, you know, take a picture of it.
See, I'm fascinated with rust, but that's a whole different...
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in fact, there is rust on this painting, this picture.
Now, explain to people first what they're looking at. This is done on...
This is a photograph printed on metal.
Okay, can I flip it around just to show
Sure.
them in case they doubt us?
Yeah, and I actually have printed that photograph on regular photographic paper. And I have a whole collection of this specific type. There's another one that I have printed on metal that I'll be hanging up, and I have small squares as well. So I was taking photos with a group of friends, and we like to challenge each other, so we would create different assignments for one another. And we decided that we would choose an artist to inspire us to take photographs. So we chose the painter Mondrian, and everybody interpreted his work differently and decided to translate it into their own photographic work in their own way. And the way in which I chose to do it was Mondrian typically paints in only red, blue, yellow, and white. And I took pictures of all different red things. There's no red in this one, but there's red in the others. And all different yellow things, all different blue things, all different white things. And it was all within maybe a 2-mile radius of where I live. So I live in the Inman Square area, so I've got a little bit of Cambridge, a little bit of Somerville. And then once I had basically my color palette, I used my blue photographs where Mondrian would use his blue paint.
Wow.
Yellow photographs where he would have used his yellow paint. So I looked up different paintings that he had done that I thought were really nice, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stick in my photos where his paint would be. So this is actually Mondrian's composition, but with my photos put in the place of his paint. So within that, there are some things that might be considered grimy, but you know, they work here, and I think it sort of brings out, instead of looking at, okay, you know, what some people would say is the ugliness of rust. I'm like, no, let's look at the beauty of it and the textures that it makes and the way that it makes the yellow pop even more. So this is actually, these are pieces of kind of a rusting, like a yellow telephone pole.
Mm-hmm.
And
can you just help me?
Sure.
Okay.
And then the white that you see over here and over here is asphalt road, and the white crosswalk line that's painted on it, but because it's old and it's cracking, you see both black and white there.
Wow. Well, let me ask you, you've done a lot of inspiring us today and taking the eye and having us focus it in a different way. What would you say, what words of inspiration would you give someone about pursuing photography?
Well, considering I don't come from any sort of a background with training, I say if you're interested, then go for it. I think a lot of people take great pictures all the time, and they don't necessarily do anything with them. You know, I mean, what they do with them is they keep them on their phone or they keep them on their computer. And I think that if you find something that you've taken a photograph of or that you've drawn a sketch of and you think it's beautiful, frame it, because other people might think it's beautiful too.
And also, I love your support groups, like
Oh, yeah.
of other artists. That's really
Well, we got really, really lucky there.
so that's wonderful. So that's something else, another gem of wisdom. And I always say, go with people who like your work. I mean, they can be critiqued, but no one that's a naysayer, because naysayers are cheap. But you go with people who can inspire you, like you've inspired people today.
I hope so.
You've been a great teacher for folks.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you so much, because this has been a rich experience. I've taken some photos, but some of them came out really well, and I don't know why. And then others where I tried to capture something on purpose, sometimes it backfires.
But maybe if you were to take the ones that you didn't know why they came out well and frame them and kind of put them up together, you'd understand what's that strength, what connects them, and then over time you'd realize that's what I need to take photos of.
That's it. I'm going to do that too. Not tonight, because it's going to be late, but I will do it by the weekend, and I'll get back to you on that.
All right.
About how I deal with the paintings.
Good.
And it's been a pleasure having you here today. It's been exciting. You're going to see Alison's work here in March, and you're going to enjoy it. So you have to come down to the Scat. I mean, this is the best deal ever. You know, it's free. You get to see a wonderful artist. Word has it she might even be doing a reception. So you know what, Somerville, come down and join us. Meet the artist. See her work. It's fabulous. And bring friends, too. Always bring friends and enjoy, because this is the greatest place ever. And shout outs to Alexa, who's behind the camera, Miguel. I can even see Alexa's smile from here. They've been wonderful, and you as a guest. Parting shot of your nails, please. Just do the nails. They're just wonderful. Yes.
I hope that they're sparkling over there.
Yeah, they're sparkling. And thank you for bringing in your work.
Thank you so much.
Because this has been a real treat and a new way to see things.
Yeah, and I hope people do. I will let you know when the reception is. I would love to meet people from the community, not just my own.
And they want to meet you, because they're going to want some inspiration on things to do.
And I will also be, if anybody doesn't make it here, I will be at the Open Studios again in the Armory, which I think is that first weekend in May.
Oh, okay, so that's good. So you know where you can find her. And Somerville, it's been a pleasure, again, letting us into your living rooms. I thank you. And as I always end the show with the greeting or salutation, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be to you. Take care of yourself, enjoy, and embrace it all, even the snow. I never thought I'd say that. So but you took away the snow, so that's a good thing.
I have to admit, I've taken very few pictures of snow this summer, this winter. I already have my mind on the summer.
I know.
Gotta get out of here.
So thank you.
Right.
And this is, and sometimes we just.